Okay, so far I've seen the first two episodes of a new Avatar series, and I find the creative choices in moving the first episode's focus from the gang meeting to the geopolitics of a 100-year war to be quite, interesting. Sozin basically leaked his own plans for war to the Earth Kingdom, but his true target was to strike at the air temples. Okay, this is quite of an odd choice for me because we remove the narrow scope of the original series and have the audience learn with the characters rather than just get an exposition dump and have the characters catch up, which probably just removes a lot of emotional connection to it. I know that I'm coming from a place that has a lot of emotional connection already because I grew up watching the original series, but still, quite odd. Is this necessary for serialization? Probably. Is it good? That's debatable, but I lean towards no. I do love the art direction of this series, I'll give it that, but man is the first episode chock full of exposition. In terms of the comet empowered firebending, I'm quite unimpressed. Nothing gave me the impression that this is more powerful than any regular firebending. I don't particularly buy that this empowerment would later give Ozai the ability to burn the Earth Kingdom to the ground. But in terms of comedic personalities, my favorite of the bunch is probably Ian Oosley because his delivery matched Sokka's from the original quite well while still having enough of his own personality show through. Dallas Liu also deserves a great amount of praise because I feel the angst radiating off the screen whenever he's there as Zuko. You may have noticed I glossed over a lot of the plot points, so here's some of them I glossed over. So, actually meeting Aang and freeing him from the iceberg, the village scenes, Zuko attacking the village, escaping from Zuko's ship, Aang stealing from Zuko, and of course the Southern Air Temple scenes. We had to splice the showing of 3 episodes, plus some original content with the Air Nomad genocide, into 1 hour long. Yeah, personally, I would have started out with the boy in the iceberg stuff, introduce Zuko, knowledge of the war, do the escape from the ship thing, and then, through some psychometry or avatar spirit weirdness, come across Gyatu's corpse and have us see the Air Nomad genocide in flashes. The first episode felt like 95% exposition, 5% actual plot progression, and of course, the exposition felt really fast because it feels like we're cramming for a test. It feels like an abridged series at times. Not an abridged series. When you know those videos on YouTube where you just hear lore dumps, yeah, it felt like that at times. Episode 2 is where I feel like this series actually picks up, mainly because I felt like the acting was better, because the exposition wasn't so chock full, the pacing was better, the humor was better. I also do like the framing device of actually having Zuko's research on the Avatar be stolen so that Aang could use it in order to get to Kyoshi Island. It's a decent serialization method. Oh, and since we're cutting out the pirates, Grand had the water-bending scroll, mainly because the literature of the waterbenders was sort of destroyed during the Southern raids, which, yeah, sure, I buy that. In terms of Sokka and Suki, I know one of the biggest complaints pre-release is that Sokka's sexism got really excised. What they replace it with is that he's constantly jealous of Suki being the better warrior than him and outclassing him in every single way. This leads to Sokka being clearly jealous of Suki's skill. I think it's an okay change in how they executed, but I do have my concerns about giving Aang and Sokka similar arcs because they're both out of their depth, just in different ways. One for bending, one for more conventional combat. I worry that this is just going to make Sokka feel dull. I do disagree with the creative choices they did with Zhao because Zhao's the one who burns down Kyoshi Island. The most Zuko tries to do is cremate Katara alive. While bad, it doesn't go the full extent of showing how much he's willing to burn in order to get the Avatar. There's also Aang speaking with Kyoshi's vestige. I get that they need this vision in order to move the plot forward, I just don't like how they executed it. Also, if the painting isn't an exaggeration, Kyoshi murked Chin the Conqueror more directly. Episode 2 ends with Ozai learning about the Avatar being alive. Personally, I find this is a decent attempt at serialization, though there are some clear growing pains going from a show that was episodic and became serialized, and remixing it into a show that is serialized from the get-go. Stealing Zuko's research on the Avatar, good trope to use to get the show to pick up the pace. Showing the air nomad genocide before we actually get invested in the characters, dubious. Really dubious. Giving Zhao a more prominent role in order to establish him as a threat, necessary for serialization, but I think it was executed in a dubious way. Action is quite possibly the weakest part of this whole experience. Okay, keep in mind that my knowledge and experience with choreography is limited to stage combat. Granted, it is hand to hand stage combat, so I do know how the whole shtick works. You have to slow down actual martial arts moves because, well, martial artists tend to go way faster than what is visually more stimulating on a stage. However, the fight scenes could use a lot of work. You can certainly get the idea that the characters are indeed flailing about with the special effects not quite syncing up that much with the movement, and the movements feel less fluid and a bit more stiff, which is quite odd and quite bad for an action show. What I think they need to do for a season 2, or I don't know if they actually improve after these episodes because I've only watched the first two, is that they probably need to invest more in someone choreographing wuxia media because that will probably help with the action a lot because at this point it's just really sketchy to look at. But those are just my thoughts. Please consider liking, subscribing, tipping the channel on Ko-fi. This is Cyril signing off.